Hi, I am Michael Bean, and this is your lesson for myfreeactingclass.com for Wednesday, October the 7th. Today, we are continuing to talk about personalizing. So bringing details of your personal and emotional life to your characters and to your scenes. Yesterday, we did that with commercials. And today, we're going to do that with a film and TV script. Now, before I get to that, I've talked repeatedly about how important self-tape auditions are. There's a really interesting email that came through from the Union of BC Performers today. So I want to quickly show you this email that came through. There we go. So this is from UBCP, the Union of BC Performers. Do you remember the executive board has authorized a self-tape equipment reimbursement, a one-time, one-use per member reimbursement for equipment for self-taping. So basically, the Union of BC Performers, if you happen to be a member of the union in one way or another, is offering you a $50 towards the equipment for your self-tapes. So if you are a union member, even if you're an apprentice member, and you are not currently on their email list, so this is new information to you, you can send them an email. We've got Tracy's email right here, which you can pull straight out of the video, or you can just, I'm sure this is all available on the UBC website as well. Then we've got self-tapes have become even more important in today's current climate. We've put together some useful resources like the videos below to help you get that self-tape right. For more resources, click here. Let's see where this takes us. I think this just takes us to the same two videos as my guess. Yep, okay, it is. And so I'm always interested in sharing with you other resources on how to self-tape so that you can hear the same, even if you hear exactly the same thing from other people that you've been hearing from me over and over again, sometimes hearing it in a new voice will make it land. It's one of the reasons why studying with multiple acting teachers over the course of your life is a really good idea, because yes, we're all teaching towards essentially the same goal, that you are able to do work that is very believable and also fully expressive. That's not rocket science. The goal is not rocket science. There are 1,000 ways up the mountain though. And there is an element of your felt sense of connection with the person who is speaking that is really, really useful for learning. So what you will find is that every once in a while, you'll sign up with a new acting teacher or you'll watch somebody's video and they will say a very slightly different version of things that you've already heard, and it will land on you in a new way. And you'll be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This person is a genius. Why has nobody ever told me this ever before? And every other acting teacher that you've ever had will have this like moment where they're just like, because, we are giving the same information, but the truth is that until you are ready to learn something, it's just not going to land. It'll land here. You'll be like, yeah. No. I had a very specific example of this that's relevant for the scene today, where I had a student who was in one of my advanced classes who came to class and they were like, wow, I've been working on this. She was really struggling with the scene. So she worked with her rehearsal coach for 3 weeks on the same scene and then brought it to class. And she was like, I finally get it. Every line is important. And this is not rocket science. This is something that, I think that I could say to you and you would be like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Every line is important. But it is one of those things where when it lands here, you're like, no, wait. Actually, every line is important and specific and says something about my character and to the other characters and about the story. And when it lands here, it's a completely different experience. So that's the example that I'm playing with today. I just remembered, I've got this really beautiful quote from a German poet named Rilke. I told you young folks that I was going to be talking about some more sophisticated stuff today, so you're just gonna have to bear with me. But that feels relevant, feels related to this exact thing that I'm talking about. So Let me just make it big enough that maybe you can see, and then I will share. So Rilke is a German poet. He says, I beg you to have patience with everything unresolved in your heart and to try to love the questions themselves as if they were locked rooms or books written in a very foreign language. Don't search for the answers, which could not be given to you now because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps then, someday far in the future, you will gradually, without even noticing it, live your way into the answer. I love this. This really speaks to me. Right, so it's this. Don't search for the answers which could not be given to you now because you would not be able to live them. There are 1,000 things about acting that you can read them and hear, go like, yep, yeah, just, I got it, definitely. You're going to do that all the time. You know, what is more useful often for actors is to practice the discomfort and to learn to stay with the question, because you have to be able to live in that space. You have to be able to live your answers. You have to be able to live in the questions in order to be able to do skilled work. Okay, so coming back to the UBCP email, they shared 2 different resources. One of which is this. I talked about Omari just the other day. This is Casting Workbook, castingworkbook.com. They have their labs, CW Labs, I think it is, and Omari has been running those. And this looks like this is a recording of his How to Self-Tape Like a Pro. It's an hour long. I haven't listened to it yet. Looks like we've got a bunch of different people talking about self-tapes here. Then this is a really interesting one, and I will put both of these links, into the. I will put both of these links into the chat window so that you've got them if you want to look at them in more detail. So, Omari Newton self-tape. Boom, there it is. And I will try and remember to put them into the notes on the YouTube video as well. I know I often drop the ball on that. And then you have to squint at the screen if you're watching the video. So there's the Omari Newton self-tape. And then this is a video posted on Facebook from Jackie Lynn Casting. April Telek has been working with Jackie Lynn for a very long time.
Hi, so we want your self-tape to be the best it can be. So here are a few tips. First of all, we need the orientation of your phone. If you're using a smartphone for your audition, that's perfectly fine, but you need to make sure that it is not vertical. We need to have it horizontal. So place it on the tripod horizontally, and that will capture your audition in a format that will allow us to watch it on our computers properly.
For the record, if you put it on a stack of books, as long as it's flat and facing you, they won't know if it's on a tripod or not, as long as it's level with your eyes. The whole point of a tripod is it makes it easy to raise it up to the level of your eyes, but you don't need fancy equipment if you've got a phone.
Also, framing, that's a big one. This is too wide. What we would like is maybe mid-chest up to top of your head and leave a little bit of headspace in the frame, and that would be your perfect framing. Lighting for your audition, equally as important as framing. This, too dark. We need to see you. So, this is much better. Natural light works great, but you want to make sure that you don't have too much light on your face, because that's all blown out. And you don't want shadows behind you or around you. So top light, not so good. Direct light coming just slightly off camera makes a nice, easy, soft light on your face, and it's the best for your self-tape.
Right. April has been running audition sessions for years and years and years.
Self-tape, not this. This does not work. What we need is a non-glossy background in ideally something blue, gray, or taupe. And if you're using a sheet, that's fine, but make sure it's ironed. If you want to just get a pull down vinyl shade that's big enough for your framing of your audition, that'll work too. So iron that sheet if you're going to hang one up, and that's it. Don't hang out with the big background behind you.
This is great. I haven't watched this yet.
I talked to you about sound. Sound is very important for your self-tape audition. That said, we do not want to hear a whole bunch of background sound going on in the background. We want to hear you, the actor, reading in a way that we can actually hear you better than we hear your reader. So that said, maybe your reader should step a couple feet away from the camera so that there's some distance between them and the microphone. Also, try not to be too quiet. Some phones are great at picking up sound. New iPads are excellent at picking up sound. But if you are too quiet, we can't understand what you're saying. And if you're too loud, that doesn't work either because it just blows out the microphones on the computer as they watch your audition. Eyelines for your self-tape audition. Do not look down the barrel of the camera. Do not have your camera shooting the top of your head because guess what? Your eyes are way more interesting. That's what we really want to see. Make sure your eye line is not too wide. So you don't want to be looking over here for the bulk of your scene. You want to do the scene with your reader fairly close to the camera but off to the side so that it's a nice tight shot close to the camera but not down the barrel. So these are your ideal eyelines. Slates are very important. We need to know who we are watching. So we need your name, your height, and where you are located. If you are under 18, please also give us your birth date.
Now this is specific to Jackie Lind casting, obviously. Anytime you get a self-tape audition, there will be slightly different instructions about what they want for this slate. The rest of it hopefully is directly relevant.
Your slate. The slate can go at the end of your self-tape audition. That's ideal. And we want to have a tight shot like this. And then we'd like to see a full body pan, which can be quite quick. And then back into the face if possible. Sending your self-tape to us. We would like to receive it in an MP4 format. So save it as an MP4 and upload it with a downloadable link to Vimeo, WeTransfer, Dropbox. Those will all work, and it needs to be labeled correctly. Labeling, we should have the character name, underscore, the project name, underscore, your name.
Again, that's really specific to Jackie Lind casting. Okay, fantastic. All of that stuff, super clear, super relevant. My hope is that having somebody who is actually in casting slowly and clearly say a version of the things that I have been telling you, but all in one place in a super easy format has made some part of that go, whoa, I've never heard that. That's amazing. I should totally do that thing. And that's exactly what I was talking about at the beginning of the lesson, where it's like you hear it from somebody new and it just lands in a new way. So April is a solid resource for that. And actually, I will also put that link here in the chat window if you want to look at that. Now, so chat done. April Telek self-tape instructions. Oh, there it is. Okay, now, Candy, is it? Do you have audio such that you could read the script that we're looking at today? Or is it crazy loud where you are? And Olivia, would you also be able to read for me for this one? That's the little girl who's feeling all the feels.
Of course.
Okay, fantastic. The character's name is April. It's April and John. But there's nothing particularly macho about John's character, and so having Candy read will be just fine. So this is from an open call audition that I received from a US casting director earlier this year. I've taken out all of the identifying features, and the name of the project and everything, because hopefully then they won't get cranky with me for using this online. Scene 1. John, 40s, is a stranger to April. He means well, but she doesn't know if she can trust him. She also doesn't know what's out there, but she's determined to do what she can to find her family, despite being scared of the unknown. Interior, infirmary, day. April moves toward the door, but John steps in front of her.
You can't. You can't go out there on your own. It's dangerous.
April is scared. She doesn't know what to do.
You can barely carry that backpack by yourself.
April.
Come with me.
No, look at the line, Olivia.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Come with.
Good. And do you see this where it says weekly?
Mm-hmm.
That's the writer's information about how they want the line said. But can you say this is weekly? Just you make your voice real quiet.
Come
I don't understand. I can't.
Come with me.
It's not safe.
My family. They're waiting for me.
It's too late. They're gone.
Tears form in April's eyes, knowing John is probably right. She starts to give in, the tears flow, but she holds them back, shakes it off and says,
I have to find them.
John grabs her arm to stop her.
They're gone.
You're lying.
April pushes him away, stops for a moment. Maybe he's telling the truth. And then, see this, Olivia, it says under her breath.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually say the line, but under your breath just means quietly to yourself.
You're lying.
Right? So not whispery, not breathy. If it said breathy, then it would be, you're lying, like you just give us. But under your breath means like you'd say it quietly just to yourself. Can you try that?
You're lying.
Yeah, right. And you want to make that even quieter to make it make sense. So yesterday we talked about, or I talked about personalizing, and I talked about that in the lesson the day before as well. So this idea that it's easy to look at a script and get a sense of the results, a sense of what are the feelings, and with something that's this short, we can go line by line. So that I can stay here in the screen share, you can put things in the chat window, but also please feel free to just toss them out there. I'm going to mark up this script, and so let's go. What is the feeling here, for John? This first line, you can't go out there on your own. It's dangerous, right? If we had to guess what the feeling is, the result there, what is it?
What?
Is John
I
scared?
think he wants to help.
Okay, the wants to help. Okay, and so what's the feeling word for that? Concerned, worried?
He doesn't want her to die.
Yes, right. Doesn't want her to die. I agree, and I think that it's that big a deal for him. Die. Okay. And so and so if you don't want somebody to die, how do you feel?
Scared.
Sure. Okay. So now we know what flavor of scared it is, right? So we're understanding the script. And so if you wanted to bring something of your own life to this, you can't go out there on your own. It's dangerous. I might think of, I'm a parent, I have an 11-year-old, and so this thing about, I don't want you to die, and I see you doing something that is dangerous, or where I'm worried that there is a risk of that happening to you, is very relatable to me. I remember what it's like. And so if we look at the script, and I'm thinking about an interaction with my son, when he was younger, where he just like is upset and like bolts into the street, or sort of like, is about to run into traffic. Maybe that's the thing I'm using. And that gives me, some like a real clear step in front of her. And that makes my step in front of her specific to me, because it's actually like I see her bolting and I really have to get up there in front of her, like, whoa, what are you doing? And so that's what I'm using, for my start of this, is, whoa, what are you doing? And that's only one option here, right? If I want to, and if I really want to explore, I can play with different versions. So April is scared. She doesn't know what to do. Same thing here. You could personalize this scared. What kind of scared is April at the beginning? Or like she doesn't, we know that she's scared of the unknown. She's determined what to do. She can't find her family. We've got all this information about the scared that John is, but what kind of scared is April here at the beginning?
Scared?
Yeah. Scared of what? What kind of scared?
Scared if she can trust John.
Right. Can I trust you? Maybe my parents are dead.
Probably feels lost.
I feel lost. Right. And based on the fact I feel lost, and then especially young folks who, we would not have any expectation that you would know what this word means. When you see a word like infirmary, if you don't know what it means, really important to look it up. And you would find out that this is a place where people who are sick or injured end up. Particularly people who are injured in infirmary. And so that means that, she's been hurt in some way and she's been brought here, that John is somebody who's there at the infirmary, who's looking after her or who's checking up on her after she, and so also possibly, hurt, wounded, sick, right? Which would make sense why she is, weak. And so now we have a particular flavor of scared. Right, we understand how the scared fits into the story. And this is the thing that I was talking about in the lesson on Tuesday. The Tuesday? What was the one that I wasn't able to record? Maybe that was Monday's lesson. Right, that was Monday's lesson. That when you're personalizing, when you're bringing the depth of your own experience to it, we want to do it in a way that serves the story. And so understanding not just this single word feeling, scared, because if you were scared, if you just had scared, then you might go, oh, scared, like I'm scared of big dogs. And so if I'm playing April, I'm going to remember, what it's like when I'm like face down with a big dog, and I'm going to bring that into the beginning of the scene. And that might not be the right flavor of it. That might not be, right? This might be more like, oh, scared like that time where I had the stomach flu, and like I was too weak to get out of bed, and it really scared me because my body wouldn't do what it was supposed to do. Yeah. I remember that like sick, horrible feeling in my body. It's that kind of scared. And if you are specific and you bring in a personalized choice like that, then even before you have lines, you've showed us that you were a skilled actor. And you've showed us that you are telling an interesting story. And if you use your life in that way, then already you've got things to do with your body. So you don't have to go like, oh my gosh, what do they want me to do? What should I do? Instead, you're like, oh, right. That time when I was, had the stomach flu and was so sick, what did that look like when I was trying to walk to the bathroom? I'm going to bring in that, memory in my body. And so then, and we can go line by line, and it is often a slow process at the beginning. And what you'll find is that it gets faster. But I think that there's, especially at the beginning when you're not used to being really specific about what you're bringing with each line, it can be really useful to go line by line. So we're still at the very start of the scene. So now we're on, you can barely carry that backpack yourself. What's the feeling there for John? right? Or what's going on for John there, right? So we've got concerned, worried, I don't want you to die here at the top, and then
Concerned.
okay, the right, and concerned, and we could say that he's explaining it, to her, that he wants to reassure her, make her feel better, right? So that it starts with, "Whoa, what are you doing?" And then it turns into something that's closer to, you should be careful. Or that's not a good idea, or I'm really worried about you.
Or you're too young.
Oh yeah, perfect. Like you're too young. Which has this some of this. So it's like, whoa, I don't want you to die because you're too young. Like you just actually can't physically do the thing that you want to do. And that brings us into April's line. Now you can see that we could go line by line through the whole scene, but it would just take time. Caden, did you have a quick question that you wanted to ask before we wrap up today?
Yeah. I don't want you to die.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Like and so it's got the concern and the worry, and it's not just the words, but it's also the feeling that you're putting into it. Great. And so I think that what I often see in scenes is at the beginning, actors choose a feeling. And they're like, yeah, I'm scared. And then they'll just play a generalized scared. And it's a little bit like you're taking the color red and just painting the entire scene red. And then maybe some lines are like a little more red and some lines are a little less red. But if we wanted to get artsy again, I mean, how many shades of red are there, right? There's 1,000 different shades of it, and there's the ones that are more orange and the ones that are more yellow and the ones that are more brown. And when you are putting together the scene, we want you to have that much depth and specificity, and it doesn't have to be academic. It doesn't have to be hard work. Like you can use your life to fill up those bits simply by slowing down a little bit and looking at the story and following your excellent impulses about story. What is the character feeling, and following that a little bit further into what color is that? What is happening in the script? What are they wanting to communicate? And so that's one specific tool. And I think that, again, if you were to explore doing that with a scene, the first time it would be slow. The second time it would still be pretty slow. But somewhere along there, it would start to feel easier and more intuitive. And then you would get to a point, where I see a lot of professional actors where they can pick up a script, and a lot of that stuff just meets them there. Because like with anybody who's got a professional level of skill in their body, they've rehearsed in those details. Okay, that's my son getting home from school. Thank you so much for sticking around for the lesson. And a reminder that there's probably no class tomorrow, and there is no class on Friday. But I will update the website with information. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Michael.
Bye.
My pleasure.